Hey everybody, welcome to Road to Becoming a Programmer, where we take you, the viewer, and make you a full-on programmer. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about tables in HTML as well as styling them in CSS. Now we're going to be showing you the basic structure of a table in HTML as well as some tips and tricks to style your tables the way you want. And make sure to stick around to the very end because there is a secret way to style your tables that makes it just so much easier. And so make sure to subscribe if you're new around here. Click the like button and turn on notification to be notified for whenever I will upload my videos, and enjoy today's video. Okay, so tables. First of all, let's talk about what tables are in HTML and when you should use them. So you use tables when you have tabular data. So for example, right here in this example, if we zoom in, we can see that we have math, physics, and chemistry, right? So we have different points of value. For example, the number of students, and we have three of them, one for math, one for physics, and one for chemistry. And we have average grades, one for math, one for physics, and one for chemistry, and so on for sessions per week. So you have certain let's say certain things that we want to give points of value, we want to give data about. That's when we use tables. Now some people do use tables just to have columns like this, just to have columns and rows. You definitely don't want to use tables like this. Here's a much more efficient way to do it, and I'll talk about that in my later videos. But for now, only use tables when you want to show tabular data, when you want to have an actual table. Now let's zoom out a little bit. First of all, we can see that on top of our table, we have the name of our table, what it's about, and it says class info. Or I guess we should have used classes, but anyways, class info, and then we have the first row, the very first row, which we display. In the first row, we want to display the things that are going to be that are gonna be given value in our other rows. So for example, we have name of the class, number of students, average grades, and sessions per week. This is called the table heading. And I told you what we do in our table heading. And then after we move on to different rows where we give content and values to our heading. So yeah, that's it for tables, and this is what a very basic table looks like. Let's go ahead and jump into our code. Okay, so first of all, I want to show the basic structure of tables in the actual code. So first of all, we have our table tag, then we have our caption, then we have t-head for our table headings, and then th and tr for our table row, and then td for table data. Now here's the thing, this is the very basic structure, t-head, t-body, and then you have our rows and table data inside of them. If this seems too daunting or too complicated, don't worry about this. As you write more tables, you're gonna memorize this stuff, and even if you forgot about them, you can just simply go and look them up online. So yeah, even though we have like, what is this, like 45 lines of code, this is empty. This is an empty table, so there's nothing in it. So if we save this and run our page again, there's nothing here. So here's how we're gonna fix that. We're gonna start adding content to it. So I'm gonna just go ahead and skip this part and fill my table with some basic content. So as you can see, we added the basic data that we had in our list, in our table, and we've displayed them right here. Now you might be saying, well, this doesn't look like a table. It's in the form, it has a shape of a table, but doesn't actually look like a real table. That's because we haven't added any of the styling to it. So don't worry about that. But for now, let's just look at the code and see what we have here. First of all, we have our table, and then we have caption. So you use caption to say the name of the table. For example, it's right here, class info. We could just change this to classes info, or I guess I like class info more. And then after that, we have our t-head. Now here's something interesting. You can just remove this t-head part, like I'm doing right now, and save it and run our page, and absolutely nothing happened, right? But here's the thing, you want to use t-head, but you don't actually necessarily have to. If you just go with th and tr, it's still gonna work. It's still gonna tell that this is the heading, and this is the first row inside of your heading, and then these are the 4 table data that you have inside them. But for writing a better code, you want to use t-head, and just cut this part. So you don't absolutely have to, but it's better to make it like the same thing goes for t-body. Now let's move on to our next tag. Now we have th, or again, you can just use th on your own for your heading. But the th is, it basically represents a header of a. It basically represents the header, and you usually have just one row in your header, like we do right here. This first row, and then you have 4 data points or TDs inside of that. After we move on to our body, where we have multiple rows, and it's 3 rows right here. And then you have 4 table TDs or table data inside of each row, as you can see. So yeah, so that's the very basic structure of a table. Okay, so I want to ask you a question. What's the most obvious thing that's missing here, right? What's the most obvious thing that's missing from our table that doesn't, really make it look like a table, right? Can you guess? Yeah, it's the borders. There aren't any borders around our table. So let's just go ahead and add that. We select our table and we go in the border. I want to go with 5 pixels, solid. You don't have to make it like this, but this is how I want to make my table look like. And if you run it again, yeah. So we get a name of it's all inside of one basic border, but it still doesn't look like it did in our earlier in our video, right? That's because each of these cells don't have their own border. We just added a border to the whole table, not each individual cell. So how are we gonna do that? We're just gonna go TD for table data, and then start adding borders to that. Black. And let's say 3 pixels this time. Let's say solid. As you can see, the order of this doesn't really matter that much. You can write it both ways. So now we can see that each individual cell has its own border, and the whole table has a thicker border than the normal cell, so it can differentiate itself from one another. And then you might be saying, well, we have these borders, but why is there, if you zoom in, why is there this space between them? You don't want to have this. But here's 2 things you can do that I want to talk about. But before we do that, let's add some padding to this as well. So padding 15 pixels. Run this. Right, so now it looks much better. Now it's not all crammed in together. But anyways, what was I talking about? Right. We want to fix our borders so there isn't this space between them. But here's what you can do. I'm going to go here and say border. And we're gonna go with border collapse. So here's what this is gonna do. If I go with border collapse and I run this page, as you can see, it collapsed my my borders for the actual cells. So what happened here is that there was 2 lines here, right? One for the number of students cell and one for the number of classes cell. But if we use collapse, which you just did, those lines turn into one line, and this is a 3 pixel line, as you can see, not a 5 pixel one right here. So if these were 2 lines, it would be 6 pixels, and they would be right next to each other. But that's not the case. But we can actually make that happen too. But before that, let's just add a border to our class info as well, our caption, because it looks kind of weird like that. Caption. Just go border. Let's go with 3. Let's go 5 pixels again. 5 pixels, solid, black. And just run that. Like, it looks kind of ugly like that. Let's change that to 3. Run it again. Okay, it's a bit better. But anyways, let's hold on. Let's try to. Okay, never mind. Anyways, I was saying that you want to have 2 lines here instead of collapsing it like this. You can do that as well. So here's how we do that. Let's just remove our border collapse. Go for border spacing right here, and let's just set this to 0. So let's see what happens. Okay, excuse me. Right, so as you can see, we get a much thicker line. And why is this? Well, it didn't actually collapse the lines like we did in our previous section. All it did is that there's now 0 space between these cells. They're all just stuck next to each other, right? So if you actually add some space, let's say like 2 inches, it goes like this, But if you change it to 0 inch, run it again. Excuse me. Run it again, and yeah, hold on. Yeah, there is 0 space between them, right? But just to make it look a bit more normal, just go with border collapse, and run it again. Right. So what's next? Let's look at this. We added padding, so it's not all stuck together. We added borders, and let's go to our next section where we want to add. Okay, so let's say this. Let's say you want to make this one right here, this table data or TD, We want to make this take up 2 columns. How do we do that? We don't use our styling for this one. We go back to our HTML, and in the name of the class we just add attribute to it called call span, and its default value is 1. But if we type 2 and save it and run our page again, it now takes up 2 columns. So what's happening is that here is that because now our name of the class takes up 2 columns, there's now 2 columns underneath it, right? Because these math, physics, they don't have this property, right? So if you add that property to all of them, like math in that column, and then let's say physics, and then chemistry, run it again, we can see that now they both take up 2 columns. So these numbers that we moved here are no longer there. So let's just undo that. Okay, hold on, I'm screwed up. Yeah, undo those and just remove this. Now let's say we want to do something else. Let's run our page again. Let's say we want to make let's say this one, we want to make this take up 2 rows instead of 2 columns. How do we do that? We go to our table data and then we say row span and set it to 2, and its default value is also 1 like the previous one. So now it takes up 2 rows. And if we do the same thing for chemistry and name of the class, there again, and as you can see, we kind of screwed up our table right here. Things aren't the way they're supposed to be, and that's something that you have to take in mind when you have the default value for everything set to 1, and then you just change one table data. Stuff like this happens. So let's just remove that so our table looks normal again. Right. So what's left? What's left? We talked about padding, added borders, added border class, and then a span. So let's say we want to add some color to this because it looks kind of ugly like this. How do we do that? But here's the thing. Here's something that you don't see in a lot of other table HTML tutorials. It's gonna go like this. Table row, and then nth-child, and then we go, let's say, even, right? So here's what this code does, right? We say that all of our table rows, what are rows? These are rows, right? These are rows. Every even row, right? So for example, every even row is gonna have a background color. Let's say background color of what do you want to go with? Aqua, I think, yeah, aqua, and run it again. And every even right, yeah, every even row has a background color of aqua, and you can add other properties as well. For example, we can make this blue, the line for it blue, so it sticks out more. So let's just go with color and sorry, white, blue. Run it again, and now it's the actual text is in blue, is in white. Sorry, I keep saying blue. I don't know why, but anyway, we can just do the same thing for odd as well. If we go to odd and save it, and now it's changed to all the odd rows instead of all the even. But we don't want to do that, so just go back and save that. We can copy this and go odd, excuse me, and let's say background color of, I don't know, like gray maybe. Run it again. Yeah, so that's what it looks like. And then we want to add some styling to our class info as well. So something like rose caption. All right here, background color. Okay, so now it looks a bit better. Okay guys, thank you so much for watching till the very end, and I want to say that I want to ask you guys to like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below if you had any troubles or any problem with this video, and definitely don't forget to like, since it helps out the video a ton. It's a great way to support me, and turn on notifications since YouTube doesn't work right. We all know that it just sometimes works, it sometimes doesn't. And with that said, thank you so much. With that said, that's the end of the video, and I hope you enjoyed today's video.